if you feel guilty as a result of this, be careful with your guilt, because sometimes what happens is someone with my type of voice and my type of vibe, sort of preacher vibe, ends up talking about this subject, and it comes across, and you immediately tune it out because you're like, oh, I've heard this 1,000 times, blah blah blah. Just do me a favor, keep your mind open to the possibility that there is something that you maybe can grab onto in this, and that it's not meant to be a guilt trip. I'm guilty of messing it up. Everybody is. So just kind of keep that in mind as we go through this. Our verse of the day today, exclamation point VOD or exclamation point Devo, and you will see the verse of the day. It is from Psalm 119, which if you know what Psalm 119 is, it's the love letter to the Bible, or love letter to God's Word. It's all about, it's the longest chapter in the entire Bible, and it goes through the Hebrew alphabet, letter by letter by letter by letter, as an acrostic poem to kind of give a love letter to God's Word. That's what it's all about. So today's verse is Psalm 119, and it's verse 134, and it says, I rise before dawn and cry for help. I hope in your words. I want to break out the context there a little bit, because I want you guys to see the whole of not the whole, but at least before and after that, so you can kind of get what we're talking about here. As I was saying, Psalm 119 is all about God's Word, the Bible, which to David, who was writing this, pretty sure it was David, he was writing about the Torah, as in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, like he's written to the Pentateuch, the first part of the Bible, and maybe some of the prophets. I don't think so, but he was writing about that. So the law, like Leviticus, the story of the rescuing of Israel, Genesis, the beginning, and all that came through there. That's what he's writing. He's talking about when he's talking about Psalm 119. So, okay, let's read this section here. It says, with my whole heart I cry, answer me, Lord. I will keep your statutes. I call to you, save me, that I may observe your testimonies. I rise before dawn and cry for help. I hope in your words. My eyes are awake before the watches of the night, that I may meditate on your promise. Hear my voice according to your steadfast love. O Lord, according to your justice, give me life. I want you to see the back and forth first of what's going on here. So look, at the beginning he says, with my whole heart I cry, answer me, O Lord. He's beginning with prayer. With my whole heart I cry to you, answer me, O Lord. I will keep your statutes. What you see is he cries out, he calls out to God. He prays, he brings all of his lamentations, his fears, his needs, everything that's going on in his life. With his whole heart, he pours it out to God. He cries for an answer, and then you see it tip over here, and he says, I will keep your statutes, which basically means your law. All the things that you say that I'm supposed to do, I'll keep doing them. Then it tips back. I call to you, save me, right? Then it tips again, that I may observe your testimonies. Testimonies, again, is the things that God has said. I will look at them and I will see them and I'll obey them, right? I will look at your word and I will see what you have done on all the stories that talk about you. I rise before dawn and I cry for help. So it's all the same thing, right? My whole heart I cry. I call to you. I cry for help. Click. I hope in your words. In other words, when I think of the future, when I think of what's going to happen, when I think of all the things that are around me and where I'm going, my hope, my desire, the reason I can take one more step is because of your word. My eyes are awake before the watches of the night, right? So I'm up early in the morning, before even like watches of the night, 6 a.m. kind of thing. Like it's early. My eyes are awake that I might, it tips over, meditate on your promise. That I might think about, meditate. In other words, that means to sit or to think or to walk and to purge out all the other thoughts to try to chew on one big thought, right? The idea of, say, God's love or salvation or my sin or glory or heaven or whatever, whatever, even just a verse, instead of kind of letting it wash over and then go reading a bunch of stuff about it and then go studying it and then go, talking to people about it. Meditation is to stop and to go, okay, let me think about that from my perspective. What does that say to me? What has it meant in my life? What is God saying? To pray through it, to say, God, show me something through this. Let me chew on this. What if God has revealed something to me, as in like I look at it and I go, yeah, there's something in my life that's not right. Why was it not right? From where did that come? Why do I have a penchant for doing that? What causes me to want to do whatever that is? Or if it's something that positive, like something you see about God that is wonderful, how do I see this in the world? In what way have I seen this in my life? In what way do I see this in others? How have I heard about this? To meditate is to stop and chew on, think through, process some big thought. It could be just about yourself. It could be about anything else. Just, it doesn't mean, a lot of time the word meditation comes in and we think that it's, sitting cross-legged on the floor with our fingers in circles and, well, floating 6 inches off the ground, thinking of nothing. Eastern meditation is meant to be a purging of thought. It's removing thoughts from your brain, as in trying to empty it all out. And that's not what Christian meditation is. Christian meditation is pushing out all the non-godly stuff, the non-biblical stuff, the non-obedient stuff, the worldly, sinful temptation stuff, and filling it with thoughts of God. That's what Christian meditation is. And we do that through focusing on one thing. So, my topic for today, and that comes out of here, is simply to ask the question, it's kind of to lean on I rise before dawn and I cry for help, my eyes are awake before the watches of the night, that I might meditate on your promise, hope in your words, observe your testimonies, keep your statutes. That idea of getting up purposefully, doing a purposeful thing at a specific hour, going to a specific place to think about, to study about, to learn about a specific thing. Yeah, and I mean the pros, like, people can't empty their thoughts. I think what ends up happening, you empty your thoughts to the point where all you're doing is you're inviting that nature abhors a vacuum to be filled up with a bunch of crap that you don't want in there, right? The question is this: how are you doing on your devos? How are you doing in your devotional life? And that's why I did a big preface, because if I'd have started with that, the idea of answering that question, usually people go, it's either, that's fine, I do my thing, or it's, man, I'm so sick of being asked that question. It's a losing battle. I've tried, I can't, it's meh, or on the other, or you get, people that just kind of go, it's none of your business. It's none of your business how my devotional life is. That's between me and God. And for other people, it's like, let me tell you all about it, because, the only reason I ever do my devos is so I can tell other people that I've done them, right? So how are your devos? If you're struggling in your devos, in your devotional time, in your time connected to God, this here could be helpful to you. What it says, with my whole heart I cry, answer me, O Lord. That's number one is I don't hold anything back. I'm not seeking to just go through the motions. I'm not just praying Psalm 23. I'm not just going through the Lord's Prayer. It's my whole heart, all the things that are inside of me, I'm pouring out. I will keep your statutes. I call to you, save me. Like you ask for salvation from sin. You seek him. You worship him. I rise before dawn and I cry for help. My eyes are awake before the watches of the night. What you see here, I think, are three things. The first is you see a time. A time. The person has a time when they do this. They get up and they go for their devos. For them, it's before the watches of the night, before dawn. Because they have to go to work, because the farm must be done, because the day has a lot of things happening. They say, I will wake up and I will, before it all gets done, I'm going to cry out to God. I'm going to call out to him, ask for salvation, ask for help, trust in his word, read his word so that I'm full of hope, and meditate on his promises so I can say, God's not going to break his promises. God is with me. God is there, right? And so I'm going to start off with, in what way can I keep God's law? And in what do I see in the Bible? What is my hope in, for the future? And what has God promised me for today before I even step out? And off I go, right? And then, 149, right? According to your steadfast love, give me life. And basically that just is, like I'm looking for God to be the one to energize me for today. Before I do anything, that's where I'm starting. So do you have a time to do it? Do you have a specific time? For me, my specific time of doing Devos is whenever I step into this room. Because my life outside of that door is so uncertain and things are all over the map, it's whenever I come into this room, before I do anything for the stream, anything for content, anything for anyone else, before Discord turns on, before any emails or said anything else, it is to the other desk over there where the Bible lays open and the journal stays, so I can start with Devo. That's my time. And again, that's not before the watches of the night. That is not before I go to bed. That is not every day at 7 a.m. It changes depending on the day and depending on the time, depending on what's happening out there. That's just how it has to work for me because I've got a lot of uncertainties. So for you, what is the time? What is the time? When do you do it? The other thing is a place. This person obviously is going somewhere. My eyes are awake before the watches of the night. Hear my voice. I rise before dawn. They're going somewhere, right? They're not just lying in bed and opening their eyes and starting to do that. Every time we do that, right? You go to bed, you go lie down, and you're like, I'm going to pray now, bleh, and you're asleep. Or you lie in bed and you're like, I think I'll do Devos. And just with my eyes closed, you just keep falling asleep, right? This person gets up and they go somewhere. So they have a place. In the New Testament, the Bible talks about having a prayer closet, or basically, like you go to a place that is by yourself. Other people don't see, they don't bother you. Just you and God and you and the Word and you and meditation and being there. Nobody else sees it, and you just talk to Him. So do you have a place that you go to do that? It took me a long time to find a place. I had to literally steal a table from out there, and because it was this nice table that people had, and they're like, "Oh, I love this table. We're gonna put it here. It's gonna be used." And I'm like, I'm gonna take that. I need it downstairs in my office because I need a desk that isn't because if I sit here in front of this computer, I'll work on the computer every time. I need to not be in front of it. I need to go somewhere else, right? And usually before bed, but I woke up early, so I went for it. Hey, good. That's good. Then, yeah, there you go. You're living 119 here. And so that's right. Do you have a place, or do you have a time? Do you have a place? And the third thing is, do you have a plan? So a lot of times, one thing that people struggle when it comes to Devo life and consistency in their Devos is they sit down, fine, they got a place, right? They got the desk, they got the bed, they got the chair, they got the whatever, they've got their Bible, and they've got a time. They're like, okay, I'll do it in the morning before I go to work, or evening before I go to bed, or I'll do it at lunch, or whatever it is. And they sit down and they're like, I don't know what to do. So they kind of thumb through the Bible a little bit, and they're like, oh, they'll read a thing, or they'll grab grab daily bread, and they'll do that, and then be like, okay, is that it? Is that what I need to do? All right, I'll move on. They don't really have a plan. It's not their thing. But if you look at how he's writing here, it's, my whole heart is crying out. I'm calling out to God for salvation. I'm putting hope in His words. I need to read His words. I need to meditate on the promises. They need to be part of it. I need to look for His justice. I need to ask for life. I need to know of His steadfast love. These kind of things only happen when you have a plan. So I would recommend my plan. I've had a bunch of different plans. I've gone from have a devotional guide, as in something that I read, and it says read this part of the Bible, and here's a little thing about it, and then here's your daily Bible reading, and let's talk about that thought. Here's a thought, right? I have had where I've gone through just one book of the Bible, and I just read through the book of the Bible, and you write down things. I've done it where I've had a bunch of bookmarks. So I do the Pentateuch, I do a prophet, I do a psalm, I do a New Testament, and I do a letter. Right? I've had 5 different bookmarks where you work your way through every day. You're doing that, and there's times now where what I'm doing right now is just I started at the beginning of Luke, and I'm just reading forward in Luke, one section at a time, not even a whole chapter, just a little section, and thinking about that, meditating on it, and what does that mean? What does it mean for me? What is God saying to me through that? And then I write it into a journal. I start with prayer. God, this is what's going on in my heart right now. This is what's happening. This is what I see. These are my fears. These are my needs. I cry out with my whole heart. And God, now, then I read the word, I read it and I write down where the word is. And then what do I see in there? Well, God said, I think I see this, and God's given me hope in this way. And Jesus acted like this. And you can see humility. Like today I saw something in Luke I don't think I've ever really considered before. So it's Jesus' death. Let me pull it up on here. So this here is what I was reading, just this little section. And it says, it's now about the 6th hour. This is death of Jesus, about the 6th hour. That's actually interesting. The 6th hour is noon, right? The 9th hour is 3 p.m. So just so you know. And darkness fell over the whole land, and the sun's light failed, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two, and Jesus called out in a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And having said that, he breathed his last. Now when the centurion saw what had taken place, he praised God, saying, "Certainly this man was innocent." Now I've read that a million times, right? It's just part and parcel of what you do. Look at the next verse, though. This is what caught me today. It says, "And all the crowds that had assembled for this spectacle, when they saw what had taken place, returned home beating their breasts. And all his acquaintances and the women who had followed him from Galilee stood at a distance watching these things." Verse 48 is what caught me. So you've got Jesus hanging there, and he's been there for however many hours, suffering, being mocked, being, and then he finally dies, right? But he doesn't do it calling out curses. He doesn't do it. He dies as a person full of love and full of faith. And in that moment, after he dies, the crowds that had assembled for the spectacle, right? They wanted to watch him suffer. They wanted to watch him die. They wanted to mock him and look and see how he would do and to throw whatever at him. Like, it was a really terrible thing. That's what they wanted to see. And the moment he died, they all felt bad. When they were returning home, they were beating their breasts. What that means is that they were grieving. It hurt their heart. They were sad. It was a way of saying that they were in mourning or in grief, or they saw something that disturbed them. It didn't really occur to me until today that the crowds that had assembled had walked away feeling bad. And so I thought, and chewing on that, I'm like, what does that mean to me? Like I didn't do a full study on it or anything. I'm like, what does that mean to me? And really, it's I will stand there and sin. I will continue to sin, and I will do the sin, and I will repeat the sin over and over and over until, something bad happens. And then suddenly I'm beating my breasts and I'm going, I feel, this is so terrible. Why did I do that? I feel so guilty. I shouldn't have done that. All the way along, I'm feeling convicted, God going, don't do that. Don't do that. You shouldn't be going that way. You shouldn't be doing that thing. But I'm ignoring him. And it's not until the permanently bad thing happens, some horrible thing happens, or some devastating things happens, or someone gets hurt, or I hurt myself, that suddenly now I feel bad. In the same way, I think you look at these assembled spectacle people, and they're like, oh, this is so great. And then all of a sudden he dies, and people just feel conviction to their heart after seeing him die in faith, and now they feel bad. If they would have, hours before got to where they are now and went, this is a good man, this is a holy man, this is someone who is innocent, right? That's what he said, right? The centurion, like, certainly this man was innocent. They, if they would have gotten to that before, like, say, the day before, on Good Friday, when they were all chanting for him to be crucified, it's been like, actually, he's innocent. Just like everybody's been saying, maybe we shouldn't be crucifying him. It would be a completely different story. But it took until they looked at him die that they finally felt some sense of conviction. To me, anyway, that's what I did today. That was my praying to God in my spot at my time, seeking to observe the testimonies and meditating on what was in there, according to what I saw in God's story and what it said to me. My question to you is to simply ask the question. I see some answers in the chat, but it is to ask the question: Do you have a time? Do you have a place? And do you have a plan? Or are you currently struggling in your Devos? If you are, let me help you, because if you're a content creator, if you are a leader in the church, if you are a teacher, if you are a small group leader, if you're a parent, if you have friends, if you're looking into the future, if you're a student who is struggling, if you are in sin, or if you need hope, or you have something to do in your life, you need this sort of connection, because it's going to be what gives you the strength to be able to continue on. It's, that's the hope. This is what gives you hope. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that are very smart. I think Reformed or Baptist or conservative have this struggle in that they like Bible study. They like looking at the Word, and they like talking about it and going to sermons and whatnot. But when it comes to sitting down and asking the question, like stopping all their activity, stopping all of their motion in their life, sitting down and thinking about it, they don't like that. They like the idea of doing. They like the idea of going forward. They like the idea of confessing and praying and serving and on doing all that stuff. But when it comes to sitting down, shutting up, and thinking about what God has been saying, to push pause on their own mouth, but to still sit and pay attention, a lot of people don't like that. Jim Bim says, I don't do the greatest with reading the Word and spending time with God. Got to work on that. I want to do it, but the enemy and the flesh fight me. Still learning how to crucify the flesh and do it anyway. It's hard. The thing is, if you can't do it with internal motivation, you have to do it with external motivation, Jim. So in other words, there needs to be a consequence and there needs to be accountability, right? So the consequence should be, you have to tell somebody, or you have to, if you don't do it, then you're not allowed to have. Or like, for example, I won't turn on the TV until I do my Devos. I won't do my workout. I won't do my, whatever, until I do my Devos. I'm not allowed. That's the rule. And that, because there's a consequence to it. And accountability is to say, I have someone looking over my shoulder asking the question, weekly, monthly, whatever. It's just saying, are you doing it? To humble yourself enough to say, I don't have the self-control and I don't have the will to be able to actually do this myself because I've tried. I need external reinforcement. Then that humility will allow you to do it. Another thing you can do for external reinforcement is on your phone. You can go download, like, say, the U version, or go download some kind of app that is a Devo app. And when it goes ding, or when you get an email that goes ding, that's your Devo time. Or, that's a reminder. It's right there, because you have to keep that alert there. And at least it's in front of you, in front of your face, right? If you can't do it with internal motivation, you have to do it with external motivation. Jelly Beans, I guess I don't always meditate. Most people don't. I don't know very many people that stop long enough. I don't know a lot of people that will stop long enough because they're afraid of what'll happen. They fill their life with noise, and they fill their life with entertainment, even with good things like serving others and leading groups and calling their mom and doing all sorts of good stuff. But the idea of stopping for a minute and actually just kind of going, what does God want from me today, is almost impossible. They're too scared to do that. Ukulele says, I find it meditating on the word difficult because it can't be quantified. If that makes sense, you can read X verses, you can pray through a list, but how do you know when you're done meditating on the word? Well, you're not. Ever, right? That's the pray always and in all situations, like you're a living sacrifice. Everything you do is an act of worship. That's the whole thing about the new covenant, is that it's an everyday, all day thing. The question is, for you, you can just set a timer. Right? You can just say, if that's your struggle, then what you do is you say, okay, after I'm done my usual Devo, I've read the word, I've sang the song, I've done the thing, I've said my prayers, I'm going to set a timer for 120 seconds or 60 seconds, and I'm going to just do this, and I'm going to ask the question, what did I experience in my devotional today? What did I hear from God? What did I see? What did I feel? What did I learn? Just to kind of sit there and to sit in it for 60 seconds without doing anything, without going anywhere, without writing it down, without anything. Just do that. And then maybe 120 seconds just to see. You'll be surprised how long that is, by the way. Sounds like, oh, I should do it for 10 minutes. Just start with 60 seconds. That's not a good burger.
Tell you that smoking is good for you.
Whoop,
But it's
whoop, 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 whoop.
not good for that patty.
I'll get it. I'll get it.
What goes well with burgers? Freedom.